another world order, which you label as this liberal hegemony, so-called, or unipolarity. Take us through those critical transitions from the bipolar Cold War to what America interpreted as the new unipolar America-led world.
Well, as I said before, you have two possible world orders, either the one where you have a balance of power, or one when you recreate Rome, if you will, so another hegemon. And what's interesting is towards the end of the Cold War, seemed like we had both, because from the Helsinki Accords in 1975, we began to develop the foundation for cooperation between East and West. And this is motivated, as you mentioned, with Gorbachev, this idea that you could reform, and he spoke about this common European home, which would transcend this or end this bloc politics. And when the Cold War was announced over in 1989 in Malta, we effectively came with an agreement, the Charter of Paris for a New Europe in 1990, which were built largely on this idea of having an inclusive European security architecture. So one Europe, according to the common European home that Gorbachev had envisioned. And then in 1994, we even translated this into an actual institution, which is the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. So then we already began to lay the foundation for an inclusive Europe based on the Westphalian system. However, this was one of the worlds which would unite, but this is not a world that could accommodate a hegemon, that is a Pax Americana or one based on dominance. So at the same time, they began to speak of how we can preserve the dominance of the United States. And this requires an alliance system, because alliance systems tend to divide the world into weakened adversaries and loyal allies. And this is when you began to already start a discussion immediately within the first few months after the collapse of the Soviet Union, that perhaps we should start expand NATO. Even 1 month after the collapse of the Soviet Union, 1 or 2 months, you already had discussions about establishing the Wolfowitz doctrine of how to make sure that no possible rival would emerge. Even 1 month after the collapse of the Soviet Union, Bush Sr. gave his State of the Union, explaining that since the Soviet Union was gone, America was now, he went from being the leader of the West to being the leader of the world. So this aspiration for global dominance, it was there immediately after the Soviet Union collapsed. And this demand or aspiration for hegemony was immediately in direct conflict with this inclusive Europe, which we agreed and to build with the Russians. Because now it's people often focus on, yes, we did give promise to Gorbachev not to expand 1 inch to the east, but people often neglect that we also signed this pan-European security institutions, which was premised on indivisible security, a Europe without dividing lines, sovereign equality. These are all the concepts from Westphalian system, and we effectively cancelled all of this when we instead decided to expand NATO. Because
this has a very personal aspect for me because I was a young